So we've talked about how Zig was playing Sissy Strut all with alternating strokes on the hi-hat, right, left, right, left, right, left. And while it's very important to understand exactly how somebody was playing something verbatim on the record, it can also be beneficial to maybe misinterpret that and come up with some variations based off of that misinterpretation. Because you can always come back and learn what was on the record verbatim later, but you can't always harness that initial inspiration from a misinterpretation and then coming up with your own variation. For many years, people misinterpreted what Zig was playing on Sissy Strut, and they thought that he was playing it all right hand on the hi-hat. And I myself misinterpreted that as well. And then I didn't learn until later, after I'd already been trying to play Sissy Strut, that Zig was playing it all right, left, right, left, right, left. But I had originally tried to play it all with the right hand on the hi-hat. So let me show you how I was originally trying to play Sissy Strut based off of my misinterpretation. So you can play Sissy Strut all off of the right hand, but then you would be missing the connection of the dots or the correlation between the similarities of Hey Pockway and Sissy Strut and seeing how they're really not that far removed from each other. They're connected through that right, left sticking, and Zig is phrasing it and accenting it and leaving different spaces to create different grooves, but they're still based off of the same foundation of that right, left sticking. So misinterpreting something from the way that it was originally played and the exact way that the original drummer approached that original beat, sometimes misinterpreting that can lead you to a variation that you may never have come up with if you had played the groove exactly like the record from the beginning. So don't be afraid to experiment, improvise, and come up with some variations based off of what you know might be a misinterpretation, because you can always go back and learn what was on the original version of the record, but you can't always reharness that inspiration that you may have when you first approach something, and you might be misinterpreting it, but it leads you to some interesting variations. So now I'm going to start showing you some of my variations based off of my original misinterpretation of Sissy Strut. So what I did was, taking that all right hand on the hi-hat, I started to try to blend Zigaboo with David Garibaldi, and I started trying to add some of the Swiss triplets. So what I did was take that right hand on the hi-hat and figure out how I could get a backbeat. I realized I was going to have to come down to the snare drum to get a backbeat with the right hand based off of trying to get these Swiss triplets. So here it is, all off the right hand again. But once I started to try to add the Swiss triplets, I realized I had to come down to the snare with the right. So now I'll bring it up to speed and add the bass drum. So based off of my experience of taking a simple idea and trying to see what other sounds and voices I could get in the kit, originally having come up with that idea by trying to spread the Johnny V sticking all around and get all kinds of different things, anytime I come up with a new idea, I want to try to figure out what I can do with it sonically through voicing it in different places to come up with different textures. So what I started doing was putting the left hand on the rim of the drum. So then I realized, wow, that's really cool. The left hand is playing this rhythm that's interesting, but it's just locked in by playing those switch triplets. But this rhythm is really cool. So I started putting stuff over here on my left to try to figure out what I could get that would work. As you can see, really almost anything will work. And you can put your hands in different places. I'm gonna pick this up in tempo and just experiment with moving the hands around. So by experimenting with just putting the hands around different places, that's how I came up with the groove that wound up on Stanton Hits the Bottle. With the Mardi Gras Indians, sometimes they might have somebody playing a cowbell, somebody might be playing a tambourine, somebody will be playing a bass drum turned this way, and then sometimes people just pick up an empty liquor bottle and start playing on it. So I had the idea to take one of these variations and split it up between bottles. So I had one engineer stand in front of me holding two different sized vodka bottles, and then I had another engineer standing over here holding an empty beer bottle. And I voiced this misinterpretation. It was my variation of my misinterpretation on Sissy Strut, and I just voiced it around some different bottles. So now I'm going to demonstrate it with my left hand on a cowbell and my right hand on this pitched Pete Engelhart lens drum, but essentially this is the same thing that I was playing on Stanton Hits the Bottle. So as cool as that groove is, I might not have ever come up with that if I hadn't originally misinterpreted Sissy Strut and then tried to come up with variations on that by adding the switch triplets and then experimenting with putting my hands in different voices around the kit. So don't be afraid to take some of these classic grooves and classic records and come up with your own variations on them, and they might lead you into directions that you never expected to go. And this is supposed to be fun. And I wanted to show you a little bit about how my creative process works when I'm trying to come up with some of the ideas that I come up with that wind up on records. dug this video, please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button and the notification bell so you can be notified when I'm putting up new lessons. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me down here below in the comment section. And thanks, and I'll see you guys around.